Hi, and thanks for joining me today. And if this is your first session with us, then welcome to our studio. Pilates is absolutely brilliant for building strength, flexibility, balance and control. And today I'm teaching a beginner's class. So come on down to the mat with me and we'll get started. So we're going to start today lying down on your back. So the first thing that I want you to do is slide your hands up the back of your neck. Gently pull on your hairline and lay your skull back down again. So there's plenty of space between you and your shoulders. You want to slide your shoulder blades down a little bit, reaching your fingertips down the mat. So there's plenty of space around your neck. Just take a moment to feel a little bit of gravity acting on your body, your lower rib cage feeling heavy, your pelvis feeling heavy to the floor. And start with a few gentle breaths into the base of your lungs. So you're really expanding and breathing into the base of your rib cage. Just slowing your body down, paying attention to the breath. And turning your attention inwards is a really nice way to start your practice. So we're going to bring your arms into this movement now. So if you bring your arms up to 90 degrees in front of you, and as you breathe in, take your hands overhead into the floor behind you. And as you breathe out, bring them back down to the sides of your body again. As your hands travel up and overhead, I want you to think about your rib cage. Sink the rib cage into the floor underneath you. So we're getting all that movement deep into the shoulder joints. So a nice breath in, sinking the rib cage down, opening up through the armpits. And breath out to bring the hands back over again. So this way we're teaching some control for the upper abdominals and getting some nice movement into the shoulders. We're going to do 4 more. Breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out. And we'll do 1 more. Lovely. Slide your hands then out to 90 degrees, so they're in a cross, palms up or palms down. It doesn't matter too much, whatever feels comfortable for your shoulders, but bring your feet and knees together to take it into a spine twist. Allow your pelvis to roll to one side, taking your feet and knees with you. You can turn your head and look away along the opposite arm. And again, just pause for a moment in that position. Breathe in. And then roll your pelvis back to the center, bringing your knees with you. And tip them over to the opposite side, turn your head the opposite way. Again, pause and breathe in, just giving the fascia a chance to stretch and release and open your waist. And then as you breathe out, roll everything back to center. Up and over the top to the left again. Pause, breathe in. Roll back to center. Over to the right, starting to feel a bit easier. Pause and breathe in. And we'll do once more in each direction. Just warming up the spine, stretching out the soft tissues, and getting some nice mobility into the hip joints. Lovely. When we get back to center there, step your feet a little bit apart. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. You can hold above the knee or below the knee if it feels more comfortable for you. Pull that knee in towards your chest, a comfortable distance, and slide the opposite leg away. So you're really opening the hip at the front of your right leg and hold. Take a breath in. Lovely. Bring that knee in towards you and switch legs. I'm holding onto my right knee, opening the left leg away. And again, pressing that leg down to the floor, opening the front of your right hip, and take a breath in. And then pause with both legs up in. I'm holding onto my knees, drawing them in towards my chest. So my pelvis lifts up a little bit at the back and then release. So here we're just getting a nice bit of undulating movement in the lower back. As I pull my knees in, my elbows wide, my lower back is flattening and my pelvis is lifting a little bit. Move a comfortable distance each time. We're going to do 3 more. Here, I think it's easiest to breathe out as you pull the knees in. And 2 more. And 1 last time. And we're just going to switch that movement out a little bit to go around the world with your knees. So rotating the knees round, up and over. I'm going clockwise to begin with, allowing my spine to move on the floor underneath me. So it feels like kind of like a nice massage for the lower back muscles and the upper buttock muscles. I'm going to do 2 more. And 1 last time. Change direction for 5. And 4. 3. 2. And 1. When you get back to center, lower your feet one at a time down to the floor and bring your arms back down by your sides again. So now I'm going to go into a classic Pilates exercise, the shoulder bridge. This is really nice to open the hips and mobilize the lower back. So going to think about, first of all, tipping your pelvis towards you so your lower back flattens. And then reach your knees forwards over the top of your toes. So your pelvis is lifted up and into the air. Keep reaching the knees forward, pressing down through the heels. And at the top of your bridge, your pelvis should be higher than your rib cage. So we're really getting this nice elongated position, open at the front of the hips, and pause there for a breath in. As you breathe out, start to sink down through the rib cage, hoop by hoop, or bone by bone through the spinal bones. So we trickle down through the spine into the lower back, and then at the bottom, let your pelvis roll all the way back into position through the thigh bones and onto the floor. Take a breath in again. The next breath out, it's that small tilt towards you, pressing down through the feet, reaching the knees forward, opening the hips, pelvis up higher than the rib cage. Take a breath in at the top and breathe out. Rib cage comes down. Spinal bones, one by one, trickle down through the spine. Let the tailbone roll down at the bottom of the movement and pause. Take a breath in again. Breathe out. So it's this really nice slow journey through the spine up to the top of your shoulder bridge. The weight is just pouring in between the shoulder blades here. So we're sinking into that space, opening the hips. And breathe out as you come back down. You might find that one part of the spine feels a little bit stiffer than the rest. Try to slow down through that area. So you're really kind of eking everything that you can out of this exercise. We're going to do 2 more, and then we're going to add in some arms as well. So roll to the top of the bridge again. Press and reach, open, and take a breath in. Roll back down slowly. And 1 last time. Scoop the tailbone up. Reach the knees forward. Push down with your heels. Open your hips. Take a breath in. And then sink through the breastbone. Roll down through the rib cage. Trickle down in that nice articulation through the spine. Let the tailbone roll back in at the bottom and pause. Okay, so this time we're going to make that a little bit more dynamic, bringing the arms into the movement as well. So you're going to start the movement in exactly the same way. Tilt the tailbone towards you, reach the knees forward, press your heels down, open your hips. At the top of the movement, bring your hands up to 90 degrees and over to the floor behind you. Let them be a little bit wide in this position so it's comfortable for your shoulders. And then roll away from your arms. So you're leaving them on the floor behind you, rolling the bridge back down to the floor. And that's a really nice stretch for the upper back, the shoulders, and then bring your hands back over. We're going to do 3 more of those. And again, scoop the tailbone up, reach the knees forward, press the heels down, open your hips, take your hands overhead at the top of your bridge, take a breath in, breathe out, roll away from your arms, nice and slowly, again, trying to take up all the slack in the shoulders so you get the most out of each exercise. At the bottom, bring your hands back over again. 2 to go. Roll the bridge up, reach the knees forward, press down with the heels, getting the stretch in the hips, hands come over, take a breath in, breathe out, nice long throat, long neck, roll the spine away from your hands, tailbone makes contact with the floor, hands travel back over again, and one last time. Lovely. Hands up, pause and breathe in, breathe out. Sink down through the spine, roll through the pelvis, bring your hands over at the bottom. That's really nice, well done. Okay, so this time, bring your hands up and behind your head. You're going to link your fingers. So your hands are kind of going to sit like a hammock behind the base of your skull. We're going into a movement called chest lift. And this one's great for getting the upper abdominals working. Elbows, I would say, wrapped around the side of your head slightly, so they're in your peripheral vision, but not too far in front. So the chest still feels nice and open. And in this position, there's a nice space between your chin and chest. You're going to keep that space the whole time. As you take a breath in, you'll feel your breastbone lift. And as you breathe out, if you breathe out heavily, you'll feel your breastbone sink down and press into the floor underneath you. Push down into that space and let your upper body start to lift up so you're onto the corners of your shoulder blades. Take a breath in and roll back down to the floor again. On the next breath out, same thing. Press the breastbone down, press the lower ribs into the floor behind you. Curl through the upper body so the back of the body gets long. You're on the corners of the shoulder blades, and then roll down nice and slowly with control. Breathe out again, heavily press the breastbone down, let the back of the body get long, and roll back into position. We're going to do 3 more, but now you've got the movement going, I want you to focus on what's happening at your pelvis. So often when we come up into chest lift, you want to tilt your pelvis towards you. There's an inclination to do this. So I want you to really sink your pelvis into the floor and just work from the upper body, curling, and then releasing. And one last time. Lovely. Then slide your hands out from under your head and bring them back down to your hips. We're going to now focus on the lower abdominals. Bring your fingertips onto either side of your pelvic bones. I think it's really helpful to have your hands here so you can see whether the pelvis is moving during any of these movements. If it's not, then you're doing enough. If it is, then you might need to just tighten your pelvic floor a little bit more or your lower abdominals to try to stabilize this position. So we're going to start with just a simple marching movement. So you're going to bring your right leg up to 90 degrees or just beyond, and then lower that foot back down to the floor again. Then you're going to gently stand on that leg and lift the left leg up to 90 degrees and lower. So in itself, this isn't a hard movement to do, but what's important is that the pelvic bones underneath your fingertips are staying level and still. As we lift up the left leg, it's easy to feel like the left side of your pelvis wants to drop down to that side. So you've got to work a little bit harder. Imagine you're standing on your left leg as you lift the right leg to keep the pelvic bones level throughout. In fact, it shouldn't feel like you're moving your legs at all from what's happening under your fingertips. Now, if that feels nice and easy to you, we can step it up a little bit by pausing in tabletop at this point And this time, on the out breath, we're going to change legs in the air. And that really does bring in the abdominals a little bit more. So I want you to breathe out to exchange. Place your foot back down onto the floor to pause and relax for a second. And then as you breathe out again, find a little bit more in the abdominals and the pelvic floor to control the pelvic position and the abdominal position as you change legs. We're going to do 5 more. And 4. And 3. And 2. And 1. We're going to pause back with your left leg on the floor and leave your right leg up in the air as we move into the next exercise, which is called one leg stretch. I'm going to leave that leg at 90 degrees and reach it forward until it's pointing kind of diagonally away from you, and then bring it back in. Now again, notice what's happening at your pelvic bones. As you reach that leg forward, it might feel like the pelvis on that side wants to drop down to the floor or reach a little further with you, as if it's following your leg. I want you to imagine that you're standing on your left leg as you're reaching your right leg so that both pelvic bones stay level throughout. If you want to support that movement, you would breathe out a little bit more. That will give you a little bit more in the abdominals and pelvic floor. Breathe in to come back. I'm going to do 4 more. And 3 more. And 2 to go. Lovely, smooth, controlled motion. And 1 last time. Lovely. Now you can either change legs in the air or you can just place that foot down and pick up the other side. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing, left leg raised, one leg stretched diagonally forward. I almost imagine that I'm drawing a sort of small C shape with my left foot, so it kind of kicks up a little bit at the end, and then I pull the heel in as I come back. For 7. Focusing the whole time on the pelvis, and it's staying nice and quiet and still on the floor, so there's no change in shape of your lower back. You can place a hand on your tummy muscles as well if you want to see what's happening there. I'm going to do 4 more. And 3 more. 2 to go. My favourite phrase. And 1 last time. Lovely. And then hold it there. Place both feet back on the floor and then relax your tummy muscles, because it's really nice to just see what you were doing in between each movement. Okay, from here, bring your hands back down onto the floor underneath you. Going to let your hands lift up off the floor slightly. And as you breathe out, we're going to do that same chest lift that we did with the hands behind the head, but this time with the hands down by the hips, which makes it a little bit harder. So as you breathe out, press the breastbone down, start to curl the upper body, reach the hands forward as you do so, and we're on the corners of the shoulder blades. From here, I'm going to lift the hands up to the level of the knees, back down to the hips, and roll back down to the floor again. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, press the breastbone down, let the upper body curl and lengthen behind you. Lift your hands up a little bit, down, and roll back down. Now, if you've done this class lots of times before and you want to work a little bit harder, then you can lift your hands a bit higher on this repetition with me. Breathe out and curl, hold. We're going to come up to the level of the head, down to the hips again, and roll back down. And 3 more. Breathing out, hold and reach. Breathing in, lower, and return. And 3 more. Breathing out, hold and reach. In, lower, and return. And of course, 2 to go. Breathing out, hold and reach. In, lower, and return. And last time, hold and reach, in, lower, and return. When you get down to the floor, you will feel your neck having worked a little bit here. Just turn your head left and right. It's good for your neck and shoulders to do a little bit of strengthening work for the postural muscles as well. So don't be worried about feeling it a little bit. I'm just going to do a little bit of release work before we start the next movement. Okay, so this time I'm going to get you to bring your feet and knees together. You're going to roll onto your side to face me and do a little bit of work inside lying. If you want to, you can bring your hand up and on your head. I'm going to lean my head on my forearm. If you're more comfortable with your head propped on one side or one elbow, that's absolutely fine. Also, if you like having your arm out straight, any of those movements is fine. It doesn't change the exercise at all. What is important is your shoulder blade underneath you. You want to draw that shoulder blade under your body very slightly. Make sure that the back of your neck feels nice and long. You're not looking down towards your pelvis. And check in with your waist underneath you. You want to feel like you're reaching the top half of your pelvis away so that your lower ribs a little bit are hovering off the floor in this position. So fingertips to the floor for balance. Your feet lined up with the back of your pelvis. So if you were lying against a wall, the back of your head, back of your pelvis and your feet would all be in line with each other. And leave your feet on the floor to begin with for a clam. This exercise is really strengthening up the outer hip muscles and improving pelvic stability. We're going to keep the heels together. Press your bottom leg down into the floor and let your top leg rotate up towards the ceiling. So you're trying to aim your kneecap up overhead. What is important with this exercise is that your pelvis stays stacked. So the top half of the pelvis stays stacked over the bottom half. So it's tempting to want to roll your pelvis backwards to bring the knee up, but keep them stacked. You can put your hand on the top half of your pelvis if you want to. So keep an eye on that. We're going to do 6 more. And 5 more. The breathing, I think, doesn't really matter with this exercise. So just keep breathing through the movement. 4, whichever direction suits you best. 3, 2, but make sure you really squeeze that last bit to the top. 2, and last one. 1. Good. Lower your leg down and you should feel that in your outer hip or perhaps the outer buttock a little bit as well. Next level of this exercise is going to be with lifting the heels off the floor. But I think with each exercise, every time you step up, don't be tempted to increase the challenge at the expense of the form in Pilates. Otherwise, I think later on down the line, you'll find that your progress will plateau. So bring your feet up and off the floor if you want to try the next level up. The key things are that your feet stay still in space. They're not kind of waving around in the breeze. And you also want to check in with your waist underneath you, that you can still keep your lower ribs lifting up off the floor, even with the feet are elevated. From here, you're going to turn that top knee up towards the ceiling again and back to center. So we're doing a clam at level 2 now. Still feeling that in the outer buttock muscles, but checking in with your waist and letting the bottom leg really work as a platform to support the top leg. 5, 4, slow and controlled is best. 3, 2, and one last time. Nicely done. Bring your feet down to the floor and again, feeling that a little bit in the outer hip. One last exercise in this position. You're going to press your bottom leg into the floor very slightly. Lift the top leg, but the whole of the leg this time, and then reach your leg away from you. Once you're there, flex your foot towards you, so you're pressing your heel away, and then push your heel slightly behind your hip, so you can really feel the back of the buttock muscle firing up. Now imagine that invisible wall behind you again, and this time I want you to slide your heel up and down that invisible wall. And you'll feel the outer hip and the back of the buttock muscle engage. But I want you to pay attention to 2 things. One is that you keep your heel back and behind the hip. It's easy to kind of let the leg drift forward to make it easier for you. And the second thing, body will always take the path of least resistance, is to check in with your waist underneath. You can put a fingertip underneath when you're doing this exercise to make sure that you're not lowering your waist down to the floor, and we're still working our abdominal muscles, the obliques. 3 more. 2 more. And 1 last time. Really nice. Bend your knee and let that relax, and you can give your hip a little bit of TLC. Press with your top hand into the floor, bring your knees forward and push yourself up to sitting. We're going to bring both legs round and go over onto the opposite side. We want to repeat the same sequence on this side, so we don't just have one kind of fabulous hip and the other not so quite good. Going to, again, get yourself comfortable on the floor so that your heels, your back of the pelvis and the back of your head are in a line. Lift up your waist, draw your shoulder blade underneath. Feet on the floor to begin with for the first set of a clam at level 1. Make sure you're really pushing the bottom leg down to the floor. So both legs are working together, communicating with each other. Your top hand, you can keep an eye on the position of your pelvis so that that's not moving around. We're going to do 8 more. So we want to work until we really get that muscle fatiguing slightly. We want to see improvements in strength. And 7. And 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Lovely. Lower that hip down. We've eked everything we can out of that movement. Let your legs come up and into a slight hover if you want to do it at level 2, or keep them on the floor if you don't. Fingertips under your waist if you've got yourself up in level 2, just to check in with your waist and make sure that stays lifted. Press the bottom knee down, lift the top leg, heels together. That bottom leg is working as a platform for the top leg. 6. 5. Push hard. 4. As high as you can with the top leg. 3. Slow lower. 2. And 1. And bring both legs down. And while we're taking a quick break, I'll just say it's important, as the lift is lowering slowly with control so that the muscle works in both directions, and then you'll get the most you can out of these exercises. So we're going to go into the last movement in side lying now. Push your bottom leg into the floor and lift the top leg. Straighten your leg away from you. Press your heel firmly to the wall on that side and then push it back behind your hip until you feel your buttock muscle at the top really fire up. Check in with your waist underneath and lift and lower for 8. 7. Slow lower. 6. 5. Try to really keep as much tension as you can in that buttock. 4. 3. 2. And 1. And then bring your leg back down again. And again, we're feeling that a little bit in your outer hip. Bend your knees. Use your top hand to push yourself up and into sitting. And once we're upright and in sitting, and stretch out your hips a little bit. I'm going to turn a little bit side on so you can see what I'm doing. Straighten out one leg and bring your top leg up and over the top so we can stretch into the outer buttock where we've been working. You're going to take a hold with your opposite hand. So I've got my right leg over the top and taking a hold with my left hand, and I'm going to turn from my rib cage here and bring that hand a little bit behind me. Here I'm really thinking about sitting up and tall through the spine the whole time. Taking a breath in here. And each time I breathe in, I'm just seeing if I can twist a little bit further. Keeping a nice pull with my front hand. And 3 breaths, and we'll rotate back to center and switch legs. Straighten out the other leg. So I've got my right leg straight and my left leg bent and over the top now. I'm going to take a hold of my right hand and turn to my left. Reach the fingertips down to the floor. I'm really sitting up tall, lifting the roof of my mouth kind of up through the crown of my skull. Imagining that each of the discs between the spinal bones are inflating as I breathe in. So it really feels like you're elongating the spine and gently pulling with the front hand to get the stretch into your buttock. And one last time. Lovely. And unwind slowly and comfortably back to center. Okay, so now we're going to do an exercise called the Mermaid, which is really lovely for spinal articulation and shoulders. If you've done this class before with me, you'll know that I absolutely love this movement. In a beginner session, you can start with your legs crossed. You can sit on a block if you want to. If you prefer to have your legs out straight or slightly bent, that's absolutely fine with me. Any of those positions is absolutely fine. But what's important is that you pull the flesh a little bit out from underneath you, that you can feel like your pelvis is upright and your rib cage is stacked over the top and shoulders just relax down your back. Neck nice and long, fingertips out to the side for balance. So we're going to start with a side bend. I'm going to bring my ear towards my shoulder on that side. That encourages my rib cage to want to turn to that side too. And I can start to bring the top hand up. Once I reach this halfway point, I'm going to lift my rib cage and my arm up towards the ceiling. There's a little bit of a push through the underneath arm here to do that. And then keep traveling over with the top hand until I've picked up all the slack from my fingertip down to my hip on that side. And take a breath in. And then roll back to center. So this looks like it should be quite a simple movement, but there's quite a lot to it if you really want to wring everything that you can out of it. So ear to shoulder, top hand comes up, rib cage lifts up towards that side. We continue with the side bend. Then there's a really nice deep breath into that ribs on that side, imagining them fanning open. And that breath in really increases the stretch in this position. And then we're going to come up, both arms up to 90 degrees. And we're going to take it over in a nice smooth movement. So we're going to speed that up a little bit. Breathing in. And then sitting tall in the middle back to center and over to the other side. Breathing in. And we're going to do 6 more. So 3 to each side. Breathe in. And what I like to think about with this exercise is it's not so much sort of dropping down to one side, it's more lengthening the top half of your body. So kind of think about reaching for where the ceiling meets the wall on each side. So we're elongating the spine and sitting tall into it. And we'll do 1 more on each side. One last time. That feels great. Let the shoulders roll and release at the end. And whilst we're here, slide your hands back and behind your body. You're going to open the chest and just turn your head one way and the other. A nice chest opener. And pause back there in center. Okay, so from here, bring your feet and knees together. Pop them to one side and your hands onto the mat beside you so that you can pivot and bring yourself onto all fours. In this position, knees are underneath your hips and hands are underneath your shoulders. Try not to look down, it's quite tempting to do so, but I want you to just make sure that the back of the neck stays really long and the back of your head should essentially be at the same height as your rib cage in this position. If you slide your shoulder blades together for a moment, you'll feel that your rib cage goes down towards the floor. And if you slide your shoulder blades apart by pushing down through both hands, you'll feel like your rib cage kind of becomes buoyant and moves up and under the shoulder blades behind you. You want to stay in that nice elevated position and hold. Going to press through the left hand and let the right hand reach forward. And then bring your right hand down to the floor. Press through your right hand and reach the left hand up and away from you. So again, this is not too challenging a movement, but all I want you to do is as you reach the right hand forward, I want you to push the left hand down and see if there's anything more that you can lift up any further. I think for most people, when I'm teaching classes in person, I find that this movement is the one where people are not pushing down firm enoughly into the floor. So again, to get you to press your left hand down in order to lift the right hand. and push your right hand down in order to lift the left hand. So actually it's not about the moving hand, it's about the supporting arm. Good. And we'll do once more on each side. So really fire up the muscles around the shoulder for the next movement, which is called thread the needle. You're going to take your right hand here, and this time reach underneath the left arm. Let your elbow bend, your hips go high up, and you're going to bring your head slowly down to the floor on that side and take a deep breath in. So here we've got a nice spine twist. As you breathe out, press your left leg down, left arm down, turn the rib cage and look away from you, reaching the right hand up. And then you're going to dive back down again in the same direction, coming underneath the left arm, right arm travels through, head down to the floor. Take a breath in. Breathe out, press the left hand down. The push of the left hand sends the rib cage round to the right and the right hand up. And one more. Dive the right arm through, elbow bends, head comes down to the floor. And as you breathe out, push the left hand down, push of the left hand into the floor, turns the rib cage right, reach up, and then bring your right hand back down. And we're going to do exactly the same to the left hand side. Left hand comes underneath the right. Allow your elbow to bend. Your ear ends up on the floor next to your right hand. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, start to unwind. Push the right hand down. That sends your rib cage round to the left to open. And then dive underneath again. Pause at the end of the movement, hips high, take a breath in. As you breathe out, push down, unwind, rotate, take a breath in. And one last time. Lovely. Bring yourself back down onto both hands. Now, if that's starting to feel a bit uncomfortable for your wrists, if this is again a first time for you, then you can bring yourself down to the elbows for the next part of the movement. Doesn't make too much difference to it at all, but it does make it feel a bit more comfortable, which will help you. If you're comfortable on your wrist still, then push the floor down, get the rib cage up and into the shoulder blades behind you, and pay attention to your pelvis on this one. We're going to slide the left leg out and behind us, and then bring it back in again. Make sure there's a space between your knees at that point, and slide the right leg and back in. Now again, in itself, this isn't too difficult a movement, but I want you to check in with your pelvis. As you slide the leg back, the pelvis should be in the same position with one leg straight as it is when both knees are on the floor. So we don't want to see any shift side to side. So slide the leg back, pelvis is steady and the same position as you bring it back in. Slide the leg back and bring it back in. If that feels nice and easy for you, then option to step up is to slide the leg back and extend a little bit further, opening your hip and bring it back under. Slide the leg back, open your hip and bring it back under. But again, don't choose challenge at the expense of form. And if you're adding in the leg lift, then it's not about how high you lift your leg. Think of reaching your leg away from you, pressing and opening the back of the knee so that there's no movement in your lower back. Check in again with your rib cage. Keep both hands pushing into the floor underneath you so that your rib cage is up and into the shoulder blades behind you. 4 more. And 3. And 2. And 1. And hold it there. And then drop back, leaving your hands out in front of you for a child pose for a moment. Take a breath in there. So really thinking about stretching the back of your t-shirt each time you breathe in. And then you're going to slide your hands in towards you so you start to roll the spine up and you end up sitting on your heels in this position. Bring your hands out in front of you. I want you to slide your shoulder blades sort of back and down a little bit so there's plenty of space around your neck. And then we're going to come upright and into high kneeling. But the way I want you to do that is to carry your pelvis and rib cage up, still stacked on top of each other. So you're going to push down through your shins, bring the pelvis up and forward and bring the rib cage over the top of it. On the way down, we're going to do exactly the same thing. I want you to sit into your hips, let the back of the knees start to close. Balance the rib cage over the top of the pelvis so the lower is really slow and controlled. And again, I'm going to do 4 more. And 3 more. And 2 to go. And hold this last one at the top. We're going to change it up a little bit for a thigh stretch. So in this position, I really want you to tuck your tailbone under, so your pubic bone is kind of pushing forward and the ribs here are dropping down towards the pelvis in front of you. Hold this shape in the body and start to let the back of the knees close a little bit. So you lean back, aiming the crown of the skull to the wall behind you, and then come upright again. And there are 2 mistakes that people make when they're doing this exercise, again, that I see often in class. The first one is people do an arch of their spine, which makes them feel like they're leaning back, but they're not doing the movement as well. Or at the back of the movement, when it starts to get hard, they let their pelvis drop a little bit. So knowing that those are the 2 key things, keep the tailbone tucked under and keep the spine nice and straight as you're moving. I'm going to do 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 last time. Really nice. Hold it there. Let your shoulders roll and relax for a moment. And then we're going to come back and into sitting. So again, find a comfortable seated position for yourself. If that's up on a block, that's fine. If it's legs crossed like me, that's fine. Or legs out straight is obviously absolutely fine too. Going to bring your hands out in front of you. Just going to stretch out to finish. Turn your palms up. Reach your hands out to the side and just open your chest for a moment. Take a breath in and look up. And then as you breathe out, turn the palms down, curve the spine, let the back of the neck get long. I'm going to turn a little bit side on so you can see the movement of my spine. And again, lift your chest up, take a breath in. So it's a seated cat-cow. Breathe out and press. Back of the rib cage pushes back behind you to get that nice spine stretch. And 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 last time. Lovely. And then pause back in centre. So thank you so much for joining me today. Really hope that you enjoyed the session and that we'll see you again very soon. Take care.